Good. All right. It's time to call this meeting to order. Good morning and welcome to the April 10th, 2026 meeting of the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. It's 9:00 a.m. and I hereby call this meeting to order. For the record, my name is Shanoa Payne and it is my privilege to serve as the chair of the Ethics Commission. Our executive director, Susan Myers, is in the Salem office, as are staff from the administrative, investigative, and training sections of the agency. Our counsel from the Department of Justice, Dan Gilbert, also is in the Salem office. As for other commissioners, Vice Chair Jonathan Thompson is in the Salem office. Commissioner Richard Burke is online. Commissioner Alicia McCauley is online. Commissioner Ann Mettler is online. Commissioner Yvonne Resendez Gutierrez is online. Commissioner Sherry Helt is online, and Commissioner Peter Jansky is not present and is excused. Therefore, we have a quorum, and so we'll proceed through the public and executive session agendas. Before we begin, I have a quick comment from the chair. I just want to quickly discuss how we declare conflicts of interest as commissioners at the request of our executive director. I understand that sometimes we as commissioners decline to participate in matters even though a statutory conflict of interest does not exist. For example, a commissioner, like a lawyer as myself, may have separate obligations under the rules of professional conduct, or we as commissioners may decline to participate in a matter due to the appearance of a bias because we may know the respondent that is coming before us, and we don't want to participate in the matter for that reason. However, sometimes we still use the term conflict of interest, which may be confusing, as that term could imply an actual or potential statutory conflict of interest pursuant to ORS 244120. Therefore, I implore commissioners to be clear for the record that if you are recusing yourself for a purpose other than a statutory conflict, that you be clear for the record. Please only declare a conflict of interest if you have an actual or potential conflict of interest pursuant to the statute and declare the nature of that conflict. However, if you are recusing yourself for some other reason, please do not declare a conflict of interest. Rather, simply state for the record that the reason that you are voluntarily recusing yourself from the matter. It may be that a commissioner has both a potential conflict of interest and another legal obligation not to participate in a matter. If you have a statutory potential conflict of interest, you would need to declare the conflict and the nature of the conflict, of course. But if you do not meet the statutory potential conflict of interest under the statute, we do not want to confuse the public by using the term conflict of interest to refer to other reasons for recusal. Anything to add, Susan?
The only thing that I would add is that we are happy to help draft a non-conflict disclosure statement. And we've done that for Jonathan in the past and for other commissioners. So if you are not sure whether something's a conflict, you can always reach out to me in advance and we can help draft what the disclosure could be if you still want to make a disclosure.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions about what was just discussed? Okay, now is the time for just general comments from commissioners and public session. I'm going to open it up for any commissioners who would like to make comments before we begin. Okay, hearing none, let's proceed to the minutes. I hope all commissioners had time to review the minutes from the March 6, 2025 meeting. If there are any discussion, questions, anything else before we have a motion? Hearing none, may I have a motion for the minutes?
Yes, I move that we approve the minutes as distributed.
Hearing the motion, Administrator, can we call the roll, please?
Commissioner Burke.
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley.
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner Mettler,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Helt,
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Abstain.
Thank you. Motion passed 6-0 with 1 abstention.
So before we move into executive session, we have a couple of matters that we need to decide on the regarding media and regarding some matters in executive session that we need to do in public session. Commissioners, you should have received a memo from our executive director regarding the request to recognize as media and attend our executive session from Oregon Aviation News Media and an AG opinion regarding how it is decided whether someone qualifies as media. I hope you had an opportunity to review that. So Executive Director Myers, do you want to give a report on this issue?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Okay, so as you know, representatives of the news media are allowed to attend most executive sessions and under 192660 sub 4. But the question is, of course, who qualifies as a representative of the news media? The legislature has made it clear by statute that we are not allowed to adopt a rule specifying who qualifies as a media. And the legislature has not provided any definition, so the only guidance that everyone has is the Attorney General opinion that I sent to you. It is a long and somewhat dense opinion, as I said in my email. But for our purposes, it really comes down to a representative of the news media is an individual who gathers news and who has a formal affiliation with an institutional news media organization. The definition of an institutional news media organization is an entity formally organized for the purpose of gathering and disseminating news. That could, if you read through the opinion, include someone that operates a blog or publishes online. Obviously, these laws were written before the internet. The opinion goes on to say indications that an entity is institutional would include having a business structure, looking at the nature of its overall operations, looking to see if it regularly disseminates news. For a less traditional media outlet like a blogger, it could be institutional media if it has staff, a formal business structure, and regular publication. I would also point out it is the obligation of every governing body to make the decision, which is why we are bringing this to you. So you're not making a decision on whether an entity qualifies as institutional news media for anyone other than admitting them or not admitting them to your executive sessions. So in context, with Oregon Aviation News in early February, they initially contacted us about attending an exec session. We were contacted by someone named Jonas Olson. At the time, they had no business structure. They weren't registered with the Secretary of State, no website. When we asked for more information to make a determination, we're directed to a Facebook page, which had been established 3 weeks earlier and had no followers. We were told they published extensively elsewhere, but they would not provide us any links or documents of that other publication. They also did not appear or attend the commission's February meeting. So we did not have to bring you to make that decision then. Later in February, they submitted a records request and requested a fee waiver. While Once again, we sought additional information to see if they would qualify. We were told of extensive reporting, but no links or documentation. However, because we could not immediately document we had met our 5-day acknowledgement requirement, we elected to provide the documents without charging the fee. At that time, I provided them with a copy of the AG opinion. In our attempts in those prior instances to determine whether they qualified as institutional news media, we did seek to identify who Jonas Olson was, because that was the only name communicating with us. The only reporter named Jonas Olson that we could find is a high school student who reports for the Ida B. Wells school newspaper. It was only in mid-March when they asked to attend our executive session today that we were told that Jonas Olson is actually a pseudonym for the lead editor named Stephen Reeder. All of this information is provided as context on our difficulties establishing who we were communicating with and whether they qualify, but it is not grounds for the commission to exclude them. The commission's determination needs to be made on, do they have a business structure? Do they regularly disseminate? Do they have employees? Those are the requirements. Keep in mind also, of course, that our executive sessions for preliminary reviews become public, and the video and audio of them are posted to our website the afternoon after our meeting. So applying those criteria, so on March 3rd, Oregon Aviation News did register as a business, as an LLC. Bjorn Dahlin is the sole member. It does appear that Stephen Reeder, under the pseudonym Jonas Olson, is acting as the lead editor. They also established a website. That website contains 12 articles which were posted between March 13th and April 8th. So applying those criteria, it does appear that they have a business structure, have employees, and have engaged in reporting on aviation news for the last 3 weeks. So it is up to the commission to decide whether to admit them or not admit them. My recommendation would be to admit. I do know on the basis of, regardless of all the other stuff that was going on, they appear to meet those requirements. I have a motion for Jonathan to choose one of the two motions, admit or deny admittance.
Is there any length of time requirement to establish themselves as media before it seems like I could go out and make myself media for a week and then claim I'm media. But is there any length of time period?
All the Attorney General opinion says is regular dissemination of news. So in looking at, because they did not provide documentation of their prior alleged publications, we had the Facebook page, which had been established in January and didn't have a significant amount of information. And then we have the website with the 12 articles. But those 12 articles in those 3 weeks, there is clearly an almost daily publication every couple days. The AG opinion does not specify how much or how often something would need to qualify in terms to become regular dissemination. I will say under the AG opinion, though, they do make clear the default is to admit.
Okay. Yes, Vice Chair.
This is a strange situation, but I don't see any harm in admitting them, because just from the fact that we're not a city council where our executive sessions remain private forever. We post the video and the audio online within a few hours of our meeting, so I don't see a big deal with it. Be happy to make the motion when you're ready.
Commissioner Halt,
I agree with Commissioner Thompson. I think we should be as transparent as possible. And they meet the requirements. They've obviously invested in money into meeting the requirements. It costs money to set up an LLC. So they've done the things that are asked of them legally, and I think we should always err on the side of transparency. Thank you.
thank you, Commissioner. Not seeing any other hands from commissioners. Vice Chair, are you prepared to make a motion?
I am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the commission admit Oregon Aviation News and its two news media representatives, Bjorn Dahlin and Stephen Roeder, also known as Jonas Olson, to the commission's executive sessions.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioners, you've heard the motion. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Mettler,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Commissioner McCully,
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 7-0.
Okay, commissioners, we have another matter we need to address before we go into executive session. This is regarding, and we're not going to mention by name because we're in public session and our executive session matters are confidential, but it is addressing executive session agenda items 7 through 13. There was a memo from Executive Director Myers regarding a date change. And see if here we go. Here's the memo. This memorandum was sent in your supplemental materials, and it's regarding a date change. Well, I'll let Executive Director, why don't you present on this?
So executive session agenda items 7 through 13, I sent you a memo, and I also sent a memo or email from the city administrator as well. One of the things that had been identified was that in each of the reports on page 8, they were analyzing whether a decision was made in executive session. On each of those reports, it identified the date, a meeting date, and it was the wrong meeting date. The analysis was the correct meeting date, but the reports each said the incorrect meeting date. So when this was brought to our attention, it was past the 60 days for preliminary review, so we cannot change the report absent the commission's direction. The commission has the choice to leave the reports as they are or to give us the authority to correct the dates to the correct meeting date prior to those reports ever being published in CMS. So it is completely up to the commission whether to direct us to change those dates.
Thank you, Executive Director. My instinct is that we should have the correct dates in the report. I think we should be as accurate as possible, and I understand that it was brought to your attention after the timeline, but from my perspective, I think our report should be as accurate as possible. Any other comments or questions from commissioners before we bring a motion?
I believe that is the city administrator.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Let's just go ahead and get a motion from our vice chair, please.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I move the commission direct agency staff to correct the date on page 8 of the preliminary review reports for executive session items, agenda items number 7 through 13.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioners, you've heard the motion. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner McCully,
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Mettler,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 7-0.
Okay, we are going to head into executive session. You need a pause before I read the script?
You may read the script. I'm just trying to confirm the identity of one potential media individual. If you would like me to, I emailed them. If you would like me to just take them off mute and ask them, we can do it that way.
Okay, why don't you go ahead?
Could the individual Ross Smith please identify yourself and if you are a member of the media, who you represent? You should be able to unmute yourself at the top where it says mic. Okay, Ross Smith, I did email you, and if you are a member of the media, the member of the media I think you are, I did email you, so just respond to that email, and then we can ensure if it is you that you are admitted to executive session. I'm gonna let you go ahead with your script
Okay.
while we wait.
All right. The Oregon Government Ethics Commission will be moving into executive session for the purpose of considering preliminary reviews. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. When we enter executive session, all other members of the audience will be asked to leave the room. Everyone currently joining the meeting online and over the phone, other than representatives of the news media, will be removed from the meeting. If your case is being heard in executive session, you will need to rejoin the meeting, where you will be held in the virtual waiting room until the commission is ready to hear your case. Our staff will text you on the number you provided them to let you know when we are about to do your case. To consider preliminary reviews pursuant to the following authorities: ORS 192-660-2F to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection; ORS 244-2604C and D requiring preliminary reviews to be kept confidential and requiring the commission to consider preliminary reviews in executive session; and ORS 192-685 subsection 1 requiring public meetings law complaints to be considered as provided in ORS 244-260, which includes the confidentiality and executive session requirements of ORS 244-260-4C and D. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed that after the commission has made its final determinations and adjourns the executive session, they may report on the preliminary review cases, including the commission's deliberations and its final determinations. ORS 244-260 sub 4DC authorizes the commission to deliberate and make its final determinations on preliminary reviews in executive session. Following the conclusion of the meeting, the commission will publicly disclose and post the audio and video recordings of the preliminary review executive session. Once the executive session is concluded, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. Finally, if any of the commissioners have any conflicts of interest relating to any of the agenda items being heard in executive session, or any other reason to recuse yourself as we previously discussed, please make those disclosures or declare any potential or actual conflicts of interest disclosures now before we enter the executive session. Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I want to declare a potential conflict of interest related to 3 matters because my law firm Miller & Ash represents the entities or the individuals in the following matters, although I personally do not represent them. Numbers 1, 6, and 14. And as to 16, I believe that individual that's a subject of that item is actually represented on this matter by one of our attorneys, but I am not personally working on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez. Any other commissioners need to declare a conflict or other recusal before we head into executive session? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Staff may begin to clear the room for any members of the public that are not permitted in the upcoming executive session. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, finish